We were at the U.S. Supreme Court last night at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. There was a deadline for the reply briefs from our opponents, the Nevada Democrat Party. Interesting enough, the party that tells you it's all about choice and decisions and liberty and freedom. We told you they redefined all of those terms because, when the Green Party gets access to the ballot, but the Secretary of State, who is a Democrat, by the way, also filed a reply trying to keep the Green Party off the ballot in Nevada. Isn't it interesting that what they're actually doing in court is trying to make sure that there are less options for voters in Nevada to actually vote for? And that is where their briefs focused in on. We filed suit, and we brought it to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we asked the U.S. Supreme Court to look at it. Their argument then in their reply, though, is that now they don't have enough time. They wouldn't have enough time to print the ballots, even if the court thought what they did was wrong.
I just reviewed a brief that we're filing in response to the filings we now received from Nevada and from the Nevada Democrat Party. And they are really arguing on a procedural basis. And they touch on the substance, but not a lot, because they're very weak on the substance. They're trying to hook it procedurally by basically asserting that it's not a relief that can be requested. And I think we've done a very effective job of rebutting that. Look, what the Nevada Secretary of State did was unconscionable. They said, use this form. The Green Party used the form, and then they said, we're not going to accept it because that form is not the right form, even though it was the form you told us to use. So, I think we've got a very strong case on the merit. But look, Supreme Court review on these things are always, odds are against it. But I'm pretty optimistic here that we'll at least got a shot. We certainly got the court's attention.
I think that people need to understand why we're getting involved in this, because you hear words like, Green Party and all of this, and you know where we stand. And we want to know why we are getting involved. I've seen that even in some of the commentary. If they maybe aren't watching this show, they go, that's strange that the seculos are getting involved in this. So can we give a bigger idea? I understand it's election integrity, but why that should be important to our listeners?
Logan, that's a great question. And here's the truth. We've represented in the religious liberty front, I've represented, as you all both know, the Hare Krishnas before. Why? Not because I support the theology of the Krishnas, because their right to propagate their beliefs, their evangelism, if they're denied their right, well, then our clients are denied their right. And the same thing goes here. Jordan said this very well the other day. If this is allowed to happen to the Green Party, you don't think they're going to do this to other parties, including conservatives? You know they will. So that's why you got to kind of nip these things off as soon as they start happening.
It's possible you could see the makings of a potential third party that conservatives could be interesting, a viable one. You kind of see the makings of the RFKs, the Tulsi Gabbards of the world. You could imagine in a scenario in our lifetime, but not if the major two parties are able to keep those parties from even being on the ballot, even when they've spent the resources, even when they've gone to the Secretary of State and said, hey, we want to double check, make sure the form we're about to use is the correct form. The Secretary of State, and that would have been the right form, Dad. They had the right form. The Secretary of State's team said no, and then now the Secretary of State's team, instead of taking responsibility for that, wants to say, well, it's their fault for using the wrong form. It's their fault for relying on the Secretary of State's information.
Yeah, they're saying the Secretary of State made a, quote, inadvertent mistake, and you can't hold them responsible for it, but you can penalize the client who now can't have their party registered for voters to cast a ballot for. So that tells you how unjust that is. It also tells you where the Democrats are in this. So I hope that explains why we're doing this.
Their main argument to the Supreme Court is you don't have the power to do this, like the court loves to hear that, and we don't have time to print ballots. Now, this is 2024. If you have to print new ballots for an entire state, and a lot of these are actually just the early ballots that go out, you can do it in a day. You can ship it overseas in a day.
The time constraint is a time constraint of Nevada's own making. The truth of the matter is there's some days here. This has to move quickly, no doubt. We're, 49 days away from the election, so this has got to move quickly. But quickly here should mean that there should be a resolution by the end of the week. And this argument that there's not enough time is just not right.
I guarantee you, in deeply blue states and deeply red states, the Democrat Party isn't trying to sue to keep the Green Party off.
It's just specifically because it's a swing state.
Swing states. It's a swing state. They found a way to do it.
Yeah.
Which is, they didn't use the right form. Even though, and I think what they got caught was that may have worked if it was their fault for not using the right form. But then when they sued, they found out, they used the wrong form because the Democrat Secretary of State gave them the wrong form. It actually said the form that they had, which was the correct form, was the wrong form. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues here that they actually caused by filing this lawsuit. So we have filed, you may have heard my dad mention it when he was on earlier in the broadcast, our reply brief to the response from the Nevada Democrat Party and the Nevada Secretary of State in the case involving them trying to kick the Green Party off. This reply, it's been delivered to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Maybe explain what that means, because we're replying to a reply to a reply.
So we file a brief at the U.S. Supreme Court, and that's because this case had been adjudicated all the way through to the U.S. Supreme Court of Nevada. Okay, so we filed an initial brief. Then Justice Kagan, who is the circuit justice, so the justices, there's the 13 circuits in the United States. The justices divide those up. Because she's the circuit justice, you take that and you send your requested attorney, you file your brief with her. And it's almost like a cert petition / you're asking them to take some kind of action. So it actually says in there, this is both a cert petition and also a request to vacature, which is basically to take action without an oral argument. She then asked for briefing from the Nevada Secretary of State and the Nevada Democrat Party. And that briefing had to be in by Tuesday at 4 p.m., and it was delivered by Tuesday at 4 p.m. The Supreme Court rules are kind of silent on if you're the party who goes from the state Supreme Court like we are to the U.S. Supreme Court, do you get an automatic reply? It's kind of silent. So what you hear is, if you want to reply, you better do it quickly. So what do we do? Well, these came in at around 4 p.m. Eastern time. Yesterday, our reply is already in from the ACLJ representing our client. There it is on the screen. It's been filed with. I mean, I haven't. Again, that you're fresh. You're seeing it as I'm seeing it right now. It's on this show. Yep. But that is our team. And so again, that was put together by our team. Basically working all over through the night last night.
Yeah, and it's going to move quickly now. I mean, I think it's in the court's hands, and any additional orders are going to come, I think, very, very quickly.
It shows you what we're capable of doing at the American Center for Law and Justice because of the resources you make available to us. And by the way, that's not like the only work we're doing at the ACLJ. It's not like the ACLJ somehow shuts down. It's actually, again, it's a team. That team is on it, and everything else moves forward.
Yeah, there's other teams working on other cases all the time. And look, if you want to support the work, this is a great time to do it.